มสาระความรู้ก่อนใครได้ที่ RSU Wisdom TV ทางระบบทีวีดาวเทียมหรือผ่านแอปพลิเคชัน RSU Wisdom TV ดาวน์โหลดแอปพลิเคชันได้ที่ Google Play และ App Store
to the show. For those of you who've missed the highlights of the Apec summit, coming up we have a special report for you, detailing all the highlights of the summit.
ครับในช่วงสุดท้ายนะครับสำหรับหลายท่านบางท่านถ้าไม่ได้ตามเรื่องของการประชุม Apec วันนี้เรามีช่วงสกู๊ปพิเศษนะครับเกี่ยวกับการสรุปการประชุม Apec มาให้รับชมกันครับ
Let's check it out. In ASEAN interview this week,we focus on the Apec and ASEAN summits. World leaders wrapped up the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit on Thursday, November 19th, with the host Philippine President Benigno Aquino citing the importance of collaborative efforts in ensuring quality growth.
Our theme for APEC 2015 has been building inclusive economies, building a better world.By balancing the discussions in APEC between the technical aspects of trade and its implications on the social and environmental challenges of growth, we have refocused our discussions towards all our people.
He said one of the main topics during the summit was the creation of a disaster mitigation framework and how to address climate change.The summit discussed efforts to promote trade across countries, spurred by a sag in the economic growth across much of the region, which is home to 3 billion people and accounts for 60% of global output. It was an opportunity for leaders of the 12-member Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, to meet for the first time since they sealed the deal to eliminate trade barriers and enable free trade.However, the main concern among these 12 was whether the U.S. Congress would ratify the pact before President Barack Obama leaves office in just over a year from now. The APEC summit was also a chance for leaders to hold bilateral talks. Obama and Trudeau said they agreed on the need to do more to protect the environment and also on the importance of the U.S.-led campaign against Islamic State.
We are not well served when,in response to a terrorist attack, we descend into fear and panic. We don't make good decisions if it's based on hysteria or an exaggeration of risks. And I think the refugee debate is an example of us not being well served by some of the commentary that's been taking place by officials back home and in the media.
Trudeau said in a news conference after the summit that any engagement by Canada needs to be done with a responsible approach that recognizes that this is going to be a problem without a quick solution, and we should not be pretending it is, and Canada will continue to engage with the international community in a way that is responsible and appropriate.Trudeau, though, vowed to stick to a promise to withdraw 6 Canadian jets that have been attacking the militants in Iraq and Syria. Diplomats say the U.S. and Britain have expressed concern about the proposed withdrawal, saying it could undermine the coalition. Trudeau added he's reassured the president that Canada was committed to the U.S.-led campaign against the militants. He says Canada could contribute more effectively by training Kurdish troops in northern
Iraq.And Canada will continue to work with our coalition partners to ensure that we're doing what we can, including militarily, to degrade and defeat ISIL over the long haul. That's what I reassured the President about, and that's what we're going to continue to be engaged in. We're going to be discussing further the best ways Canada can move forward.But I made a clear commitment to Canadians to withdraw the 6 fighter jets, and we will be doing that in collaboration and coordination with all of our allies to ensure that the coalition still has tremendous impact against ISIL.
APEC's 21 leaders vowed to prevent terrorism from undermining values that underpin their economies. He said there was a need for greater international cooperation to fight the scourge. After the Manila summit, in a declaration, leaders said under the shadow cast by the terrorist attacks in Paris, Beirut, and against Russian aircraft over the Sinai and elsewhere, we strongly condemn all attacks, methods, and practices of terrorism in all their forms and manifestations. The mood was somber at Apec after last Friday's killing spree by Islamic State fighters in Paris, where at least 129 people died. In a separate news conference on Thursday, Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev said Russia would be ready to discuss an agreement on a free trade zone with Japan through the newly established Eurasian Economic Union. Launched in January, the EEU links the economies of Russia and 4 other former Soviet republics, and Medvedev noted it has already signed an agreement on a free trade zone with Vietnam. Medvedev told reporters that we are ready to sign such agreements with other countries, even with Japan, if Tokyo is interested. Japan and Russia are technically still at war, as a dispute over Russian-held islands in the Pacific has prevented them from signing a peace treaty after World War II. But both sides have recently spoken about the need to improve ties, and Russian President Vladimir Putin and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe are each planning visits to each other's country. Around 200 demonstrators protested in Manila on Thursday, the last day of the APEC meeting. The protesters burned an effigy of an American eagle that resembled a vulture as they gathered near a roadblock less than 1 kilometer from the summit meeting. Demonstrators from women's rights group Gabriela were blocked from approaching the Philippine International Convention Center, where the leaders including U.S. President Barack Obama, Chinese President Xi Jinping, and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe held a closed-door meeting. Police and soldiers equipped with anti-riot gear scuffled with the demonstrators, who were chanting activist slogans and waving anti-APEC banners. The demonstrators called on world leaders attending the summit to put a stop to pro-corporation and pro-rich economic policies. Around 30,000 soldiers and police had been deployed in the Philippine capital to protect leaders. Defense officials had said there has been no intelligence. And there you go, the highlights of the APEC meeting.
ครับแล้วก็นั่นก็เป็นไฮไลท์นะครับของการประชุม APEC ครับ
And that's all the time we have for our ASEAN Challenge this week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon next week. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ